Welcome to Women Tennis USA, and I am here to bring you an in-depth news report on a year that reshaped a career, a moment that crystallized a journey, and a victory that reached far beyond a medal ceremony. This is the story of Eala, who after a breakout year on the global tennis stage admitted that winning the SEA Games tennis gold felt, in her own words, very personal. Eala's season did not arrive with fireworks at the very beginning. It unfolded steadily, match by match, training session by training session, shaped by years of preparation that most fans never see. When she finally stood atop the podium at the Southeast Asian Games, gold medal around her neck, the moment resonated not just as another line on a resume, but as a reflection of identity, heritage, and perseverance. For Eala, the SEA Games were never simply a regional competition. They were a return home, a chance to compete under the eyes of people who understood where she came from and how far she had traveled to get there. Throughout the year, Eala had been building momentum on the international circuit. Competing against seasoned professionals, she demonstrated a maturity beyond her age, combining tactical discipline with an increasingly assertive game. Observers noted improvements in her serve placement, her ability to redirect pace from the baseline, and her calmness in extended rallies. These were not sudden changes. They were the result of years spent training abroad, balancing education and elite sport, and learning how to navigate the emotional demands of professional tennis. Mary Carillo, long respected for her insight into the women's game, described Eala's year as one of those quiet breakthroughs that insiders recognize before the wider public catches on. Carillo has often spoken about the importance of context in understanding an athlete's progress, and in Eala's case, context mattered deeply. Here was a player representing a nation still carving its place on the global tennis map, shouldering expectations while also fighting to define her own version of success. According to Carillo, Eala's growth was not only technical but psychological, a shift from proving she belonged to believing she belonged. That belief was evident as Eala approached the SEA Games. Unlike Grand Slams or tour events, the SEA Games carry a different emotional weight. They are bound up with national pride and regional rivalry, with family members watching from the stands and from home. For Eala, the tournament was intertwined with memories of early training sessions, of junior tournaments in Southeast Asia, and of the first moments she realized tennis could be more than a passion. Winning gold in that environment meant answering years of internal questions about whether the sacrifices had been worth it. During the matches leading up to the final, Eala played with a sense of purpose that went beyond rankings or prize money. Her movement was sharp, her shot selection deliberate. She adapted to conditions quickly, reading opponents with the composure of a veteran. There were moments of tension, particularly in tight sets where momentum threatened to swing away, but each time she steadied herself. Those who have followed her career recognized the mental resilience that had been developing quietly behind the scenes. When the final point was played and the gold medal secured, Eala's reaction was measured but deeply emotional. She later explained that the win felt personal because it represented more than a single tournament victory. It symbolized the merging of her international ambitions with her roots. Competing abroad had taught her independence and self-reliance, but winning at the SEA Games reminded her of the community that had supported her from the beginning. Mary Carillo noted that this duality is often what defines athletes from emerging tennis nations. They train in global centers of excellence, absorb international influences, yet carry with them a sense of responsibility to inspire at home. Carillo emphasized that Eala's gold medal was likely to be remembered not just for the match scorelines but for the message it sent to young players watching across Southeast Asia. It showed that success on the world stage and pride in regional competition are not mutually exclusive. Eala's breakout year had already included notable wins and competitive performances against higher-ranked opponents. Each of those moments contributed to her growing confidence, but none carried the same emotional resonance as the SEA Games. The tournament offered a rare chance to play in front of a crowd that understood the cultural significance of her journey. The cheers were not just for a forehand winner or a well-timed drop shot, they were for the years of dedication that preceded them. As the season progressed, analysts began to talk about Eala not only as a promising talent but as a player with a clear sense of identity. Her game reflected her personality, disciplined, thoughtful, and increasingly bold when the moment called for it. She was learning when to absorb pressure and when to apply it, a balance that often separates good players from great ones. Her coaching team pointed to her willingness to learn from losses as a key factor in her development. The SEA Games gold also had a practical impact. It reinforced her status as a leading figure in her national program, opening doors for further support and opportunities. Yet Eala was careful to frame the achievement in personal terms rather than as a turning point defined by external validation. She spoke about the satisfaction of seeing her hard work rewarded in a setting that mattered deeply to her family and supporters. Mary Carillo reflected on how moments like these can anchor an athlete during the inevitable ups and downs of a long career. She suggested that when future challenges arise, Eala will be able to draw on the memory of that gold medal ceremony, not as a reminder of pressure, but as evidence of what she is capable of achieving when preparation meets purpose. Carillo has often highlighted the importance of emotional reference points, and in her view, the SEA Games victory provided Eala with exactly that. The broader women's tennis landscape is increasingly global, with talent emerging from regions once considered peripheral to the sport's power centers. Eala's success fits into this larger narrative. Her breakout year signaled that players from Southeast Asia can compete with confidence and sophistication on the world stage. It also underscored the value of international training pathways combined with strong ties to home federations. As Women Tennis USA continues to follow Eala's career, the focus remains on how she builds on this momentum. The transition from breakthrough season to sustained success is never straightforward. It requires careful scheduling, continued technical refinement, and mental resilience. Eala's team has emphasized patience, viewing the SEA Games gold not as a culmination but as one meaningful chapter in a longer story. In interviews after the tournament, Eala spoke candidly about the pressure she felt leading into the SEA Games. She acknowledged moments of doubt, particularly given the expectations attached to her name after a strong year internationally. Rather than avoiding those feelings, she chose to confront them, using them as motivation rather than distraction. This self-awareness impressed commentators, who noted that such maturity often develops only after years on tour. Mary Carillo pointed out that Eala's openness about her emotions is a strength, not a vulnerability. In a sport where mental fortitude is constantly tested, the ability to recognize and manage pressure is crucial. Carillo argued that Eala's willingness to discuss the personal significance of the gold medal reflects a broader trend in women's tennis toward authenticity and self-expression. The SEA Games also highlighted Eala's role as a representative beyond the court. Young players watched her matches, seeing in her a pathway that once seemed distant. Coaches and administrators took note of the visibility her success brought to the sport. While Eala remains focused on her own development, she is aware of the ripple effects of her achievements. Looking back on the year, it is clear that the gold medal did not arrive in isolation. It was the product of incremental gains, of lessons learned from defeats as much as from victories. Each international tournament added a layer of experience, preparing Eala for the unique atmosphere of the SEA Games. When the moment arrived, she was ready, not just technically, but emotionally. Mary Carillo summarized it by saying that some wins are about ranking points, some are about prize money, and some are about belonging. For Eala, the SEA Games gold belonged firmly in the third category. It was a reminder of why she began playing tennis and of the community that continues to support her. As the season drew to a close, Eala returned to training with renewed motivation. The gold medal now sits among her achievements, a tangible symbol of a year that changed how she sees herself as a competitor. Yet she remains forward-looking, aware that the journey continues. The next season will bring new challenges, higher expectations, and opportunities to test herself against the best in the world. Here at Women Tennis USA, we will continue to follow Eala's progress, mindful that careers are built not only on titles but on moments of personal significance. Her admission that the SEA Games victory felt very personal offers insight into the heart of an athlete who understands that success is measured not just by trophies, but by the meaning they carry.